Yeah.
All right, I'm just setting everything up. Please let me know if the screen share is coming through. Is it coming through for you, James?
Yes, I can see it. Can you hear me?
Amazing. Yes, I can hear you. Hello, hello. Right. We also sent a notification letting people know that we're getting started. So let's give it a couple of minutes before we start with the conversation.
Right. And I'm excited. Tweets. And for those that are in the audience, while we wait for everyone else, just to give context here, this week is going to be more of a reflection and a response to actually what's going on within the wider ecosystem and with capital and the internet and global. So I'm really excited to respond to.
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt real quick, but James, it kind of sounds like you're like underwater or like far away from your microphone. Is there any way you can get closer to it or adjust audio settings or anything like that?
Let me take off my head once. All right. Is this better?
That is much better. Thank you.
Okay, got it. All right. I won't put on my headphones. So just to repeat what I said just a minute ago, what I'm going to do this week, and I'm super excited about when talking about this week's AI Collab Land. I'm hearing a weird echo. 1 second. All right. Apologies for that. I'm super excited about talking about this research team meetup today when it comes to AI, because this week is going to be a bit more reflective in terms of what's happening in the broader ecosystem, not only in Web3, but the wider internet as well. And what we're seeing as the response or the second order effect of AI, and how we at Collab Land are also going to be able to react to it. So this week is not so much how we are going to use AI. Talked about that before in previous research team meetups. This week is how we are addressing what the current state of AI is in terms of the broader ecosystem. So super excited to get that going here today. We'll just give it another minute or so before we hop in and get going. So hang tight, everyone. Strap in, and we're about to start here in about a minute.
Sounds good.
I'm just adjusting my settings here while we wait so that I can make sure that I can come in clearly. So I'm just going into Discord, adding and making sure that my output audio is okay. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, it sounds perfect to me.
Okay, great. All right, let's jump in then. Super
Sounds good.
excited to get going. Let's start. Okay, so this week we're going to talk about a few things. As I mentioned at the top of this intro, we're really going to look at AI and the second order effect of how we're seeing actually AI being played out right now. And what this signals is this new era of the internet. And I'll get into that, and how we at Collab Land, through our APIs, are also enabling this new era of the internet. And from our APIs, we have a new feature called Login with Collab Land that I'm going to explain. And with all of this, I want to make sure that we can set the context and just want to reiterate the values of Collab Land and how our values are in alignment with this second order effect of AI and how we approach our APIs and our new feature, which is login with Collab Land, and then discuss next steps. If there's time, we'll leave a couple of minutes for QA. So let's dive in. Next slide, you're going to talk about the second order effects. So what we're going to focus in are the API. And if you are just on Twitter or if you're on Reddit, you'll see that these platforms have now began to limit access. And the reason why they're limiting to their APIs is there's a concern of scraping user information. And typically what's happened is these platforms would give out features and products for free. So you can post freely on Twitter and on Reddit because they would advertise to you or they would sell your user data. So the typical saying is if something is free, you are the product. Or if you don't know what product is, it's typically you are the product. So what is happening with this current wave of AI, specifically called LLMs or large language models, is they are hungry for data and they use this data to train themselves. And what we're seeing is companies like OpenAI and other LLM based companies scraping user data through API so that they can actually obtain value. And these platforms like Twitter and Reddit are not able to monetize that user data. So what they're doing is limiting access because they want to make sure that this data that is being produced on the platform is something that the platform can monetize. And it's a really interesting economics here because with Collab Land, we are here to help promote tokenized communities. And when you have token gating in Telegram and in Discord, what we're really empowering are these communities to be able to use whether it's an NFT, a 721 or ERC20 to add value to their in the form of token gating. And so as we move forward and we see these platforms limiting access because of AI to their platform, we see that these Web2 platforms inadvertently, because of AI, are now aligning themselves more toward the subscription-based access, where these assets, whether it's US dollar or through brand advertising, kind of mimic what we're doing in Web3 and tokenizing. The difference is that with these shared assets that are the backbone of Web3 is that everyone gets to participate and everyone gets to be able to share in the increased value that these assets provide. And really that's this permissionless and this decentralized vision. And we'll talk about this a little bit more, but it's interesting to see how the second order effects are playing out within these different platforms. So going on to the next slide, what we're looking at is this new era of the internet, where it's shifting from advertising to subscription. So further expanding on the Twitter and the Reddit, you have Twitter Blue, and Elon Musk announced just the other day that there are going to be a bunch of rate limit for those that don't have Twitter Blue and those that do. And you can actually see in Twitter specifically, for those that are in crypto Twitter, you can see how the algorithm biases toward those that actually are paying for. And Reddit also, I think it was in early February had a New York Times post where they were saying that they were going to start charging for API access because of LLM. And Elon as well has said so much in terms of why Twitter is rate limiting, right? So, there's a lot of interesting things that, or corollaries that we're seeing with these Web 2 platforms and where we're going with in terms of Web 3 and specifically with Collab Land. And so maybe we should move on to the next slide and talk about the Collab Land APIs. So what we're doing and what we're really excited about is we're going to be releasing APIs. We're going to have our dev portal be launched this week. And with that, you can, and the original feature of the developer portal was to submit mini app into the marketplace, which is going to happen. And we're super excited about that. And we have a lot of great initiatives that we are going to be discussing in tomorrow's town hall with regards to the DAO. But what I want to focus on, because we have a lot of things that are happening within Collab Land right now, is the dev portal and the API. So now you, as a developer, will be able to token gate websites. So what we're doing is we are allowing this API access for token gating. We are extending it outside of Telegram and Discord and allowing any arbitrary website to be token gated with the asset that a community. So we think that this is in alignment. What we are doing is we are following in the footsteps of this new internet, this new era, where we're moving from advertising-based internet to more of a subscription-based. But instead of having to pay a subscription in, say, fiat or the US dollar via traditional payment rails like credit card or Stripe, what we're doing is we are launching our APIs so that tokenized communities could use a native asset token. So we're really excited about this. And again, there are a lot of things that are happening right now in terms of Collab Land. We have a third-party marketplace. But what I want to carve out here specifically, I know that this is an AI research team meetup, but what I wanted to really focus on is the effect of AI. And so not only do we need to be concerned about how do we use AI, how do we integrate it, but as AI, as this new technology, LLMs, shift the landscape of the internet, how are we at Collab Land going to be able to react to it? And this specific use case, it allows us to be able to be in alignment with where not only where crypto is going, but with the broader internet. So with this API, not only are you going to be able to token gate any arbitrary website, but we're releasing a new feature called login with Collab Land. And I'll explain that in the next slide. So with login with Collab Land, we can leverage your current identity. And this is going to be really powerful because we have another initiative called the GM Path, which issues decentralized ID to everyone that uses. And I can talk about that in another AI meetup, maybe the next one we have, how we are going to incorporate the GM Path AI specifically. But rest assured, we have, in terms of the technology, a way of being able to use your Telegram ID, your Discord ID, or email, or phone number, or whatever identifier you are already using, and extend that in a decentralized way with the GM. And this is what the login with Collab Land product or feature based off of our API is going to unlock. And with this, we're going to explore verification. In previous meetups, or AI meetups, what I talked about is how AI is this weapon of mass creation. And again, in this AI meetup, it's not just how we're going to explore AI, but how do we react to it? So log in with Collab Land, being able to extend and leverage your current identity to create a decentralized ID that you own as a user through our GM path will be that way of being able to verify yourself. And why is this important? Well, if you go to the next slide, this actually was a presentation at a keynote just a few weeks ago at a design conference. And so designers of websites, designers of mobile apps are being trained right now because of AI to move from the old cypherpunk adage of trust but verify to now verify then trust. So when we think about AI at Collab Land, we again not only need to think about AI in terms of what it can unlock, but we also have to think about AI in terms of how do we react to it, right? There's this whole adage, I think it comes from Batman. You are the hero until you live long enough to become the villain. And what happens is that when we look at new technology, whether it is web going from web 1.0 to 2.0, where you had slogans from previous companies, don't be evil, right? Where now Google has changed that motto. Why? Because they over leverage one side of the conversation when it comes to unlocking. And what we at CollabLand now know is that we can't just blindly adopt certain technology, all a balance. So as in this team, AI team meetup, we not only explore the positive side of AI, but how do we react to it in a balanced way? And this is where we want a full picture of where we are going from a roadmap perspective in Collab. So it's not just blindly looking at all the positive effects of AI, but also in our products being able to be defensive at the same time. And it's all this balance and trade-off. And so we are moving forward with the current of the internet in general as we evolve and move toward this free advertising based internet where you as a user are the product and your data is being compromised or used by platforms, to now this more subscription based version of the internet where we as Collabland started this notion of token gating 3 years ago. And now what we are seeing is we can move with the tide of the internet in general. And as platforms lock down their APIs, so users or LLMs can't scrape user data, what we're doing is we're unleashing the Collabland APIs so that developers can token gate websites and allow the communities to extend their token gating rules from Telegram and Discord to websites, while at the same time adding new features that help preserve data privacy and our values. And maybe this is a good opportunity to go into the next slide. Because what guides us at CollabLand are our values. And what are they? They are self-sovereignty, giving users control of their own data, and allowing these communities to be owned and operated by its users. And ultimately, this is to enhance collaboration. So you can take a look at our CollabLand values if you go to the URL at the bottom of the slide deck. And this is all consistent with what we are trying to move forward with Collab Land. So we're super excited. We are trying to be as aware as possible as we move forward. We don't want to blindly just use AI. We know that there are two sides to a coin, and we want to make sure that we are balanced in our approach. And so these last few AI research team meetups have been talking about how we are going to enable further use of AI, not only for developers, but for members. This team meetup, I wanted to talk about the products that we're launching. The dev portal is going to be launched this week. And with that, there's going to be login with Collab Land. And with login with Collab Land, we also want to take this defensive position when it comes to AI to make sure that we can adhere to and be guided by our values. And while we move forward, again, this is all in line with where the rest of the industry is going, so that we can make sure that users are protected, users own their data, and that in a future where it's going to be hard to distinguish between what is quote unquote real and what is synthetic when it comes to AI, we have this login with Collab Land, and it is just going to be an extension of your Web 2 identity. And I'll talk about that more. And I'm really excited about that. It's a separate product, the GM Pass. It all ties in with what we're doing here with login with Collab Land, which is sure of the dev portal, which allows developers to be able to take their APIs that they've configured with Collab Land and break them out of Telegram and Discord and bring them into website. And so with that, we can talk about next step. If we want to move on to the next slide. So we are launching Collab Land APIs this week and looking forward to seeing how users take this and can token gate website. What's going to be really interesting and what it like allows and gets me excited, and which allows us to be able to play with AI, and what we're looking at is right now when you are a third-party developer and you're creating a mini app for the Collab Land marketplace, what you're really doing is you're creating these API to API. And so as we now break out of Telegram into and Discord and into websites, what does that mean for our mini app? And how can we use AI to easily port what developers have done to extend the Collab Land bot in Discord to websites? And what does that mean? And I think that will also unlock a lot of potential when it comes to the design space of login with Collab Land. And this is just a precursor. I'm just talking at a very high level because this will have a big impact where we're going with the member. So we have all these loosely coupled ideas. We are going to present not the roadmap, because Collab Land is not a road to travel down. It's actually a destination, and we'll be able to better articulate what we're doing at Collab Land and how AI and Web3 are at the heart of what we do. We really believe that Collab Land is this intersection of Web3 and AI. And we want to make sure that we are swimming downstream along with the rest of, big tech. So not only are we releasing this API product as the bigger platforms restrict their APIs, but we are also adopting different technologies like passkey, and we'll talk about that a bit more when we talk about the GM Pass, and we'll organize this at a high level when it comes to the different products that we are having in Web3 and AI are all mixed amongst them. The difficulty and the reason why I talk at a high level is that it's challenging to know when to introduce these products, because the product introduction that we are having need to coincide with where the market is right now. There are a lot of great projects in Web3 that I've seen over the years. And the issue with these projects are they may be technically great, but they have no real distribution, or they can't get off the ground because they're too early. And so what we're trying to do is line up all the initiatives that we have as the core team here at Collab Land and make sure that they are released in a timely manner, because timing, especially while we're building in public, makes a difference. So yeah, you can be, I guess it's an analogous to being a comedian, right? Where you can have great insight and great jokes, but if your timing is off, then the joke doesn't land. And so what we're trying to do here at Collab Land is make these initiatives and hope that they land for our user base. So with that, I hope that was informative. This is my last slide. If we move forward, the next slide is just all out for Q&A or question and answers. And I kept this high level so that we can go in many different directions. I'm going to look at the chat on the stage, see if there are any questions, or if anyone has any questions, answer. Wanted to be here. I don't know how, if anyone wants to come up on stage or has any questions to answer any.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand and we'll bring you up in the stage. Let's see.
Hey, GM.
Jim.
I'm just trying to put this into words, I guess, but I'm kind of thinking. Thanks, James, for kind of walking us through this over the last couple of weeks of how you're seeing these. It's been really interesting. And I know, like, you personally come from kind of like a advertising background with this. Um, so a lot of like what blockchain talks about and what we talk about in crypto and blockchain is like, oh, you can reward your fans. Like a creator can reward their fans uh and all and all that stuff. But like with AI, it's almost like it's basically people impersonations and the kind of advertising fraud that we see with even before crypto, with like farming rewards and perks for joining new platforms. Like I remember back in like 2011 or something, when there was like opportunities to earn extra space in your Dropbox with like referrals and extra things that you could bring on. So like even without outside of crypto, we've seen this kind of farming and advertising fraud happen before. And like I guess what I'm seeing here is like the possibilities for like AI to impersonate people and look like people at on the internet, where you don't necessarily have a full picture of a person. Um, I'm seeing like Collabland kind of try and fill that, provide ways for people to prove that they are human with this like GM pass tied to their activities, and allowing kind of this almost like passport kind of thing, and way they can attach history and kudos from their communities and kind of bring that with them across different platforms using blockchain, because it's this open open platform that anyone can read the history of, and so it provides this ability to kind of take your whole or more of your holistic history with you from platform to platform. Sorry, is that kind of the idea? That's kind of like what I'm hearing here, or
Yeah,
the
I think
possibilities I'm seeing.
yeah, no, this is great. And I think you did a great job breaking it down. Um, so it's going to be this interesting thing where I think that you can use cryptography to verify. And as we move forward in a world where initially it was trust but verify, to a world where it's verify then trust, because you're going to have to take more of this offensive position rather than a defensive one when it comes to identities online. You'll see this first step of verification, but as we get into AI or LLMs 2.0, where an AI can not only mimic you as a synth, and that's kind of the current version of AI, and that will just get harder and harder to detect, and we can kind of see where that's going. There's going to be this 2.0 of AI where now the AI will have agency, where the AI will not just be able to be a puppet, but could actually be the puppeteer. That is going to cause this next wave of uh, kind of what does it mean when my AI agent, now that I have verified and allowed to be able to work on my behalf, what does that mean? So this is where being online is different than being offline. If you're offline and you see someone, you know who that person is, where online there may be this grayscale kind of, it is me, kinda, because I'm like giving this AI agent my persona or one aspect of my persona. And what does that mean for anonymity, for pseudo anonymous people, or being fully I don't know. And I think that this is where we are really going to figure out what this design space of identity looks like. And I think it's going to take some time for us to figure it out, and different use cases. And really what we want to do here at Collab Land is to make sure that people are safe. So we're going to help users secure their identity by being able to use their current Web2 identities and just extend it by giving them a decentralized identifier. And then from there, we're going to work to be able to see how we can blend in or be able to do this hybrid kind of AI agency. I think that's going to be super exciting. And really, that is going to be the automation that will be, I think,
I'm al-
embraced.
I'm almost seeing like a parallel, or the parallel I'm seeing here is kind of like with psychology, and almost like the AI automation of like what you described is basically you can allow parts of yourself or your aspect, or you know a specific niche of topics that you're interested in to be its own, have its own Twitter account, its own blog, and kind of maybe write its own content, and get itself running like automatically kind of thing. And I'm kind of seeing it as almost like that's one personality that someone might have. And so the parallel I'm seeing here is like with decentralized identity is almost like disassociated identity and like dissociative identity disorder, where people have like multiple personalities within themselves. And like that's almost the kind of thing that I'm seeing with like the split off of these different things and allowing them to each automate on their own. And then the kind of integrative, or the opposite direction, is providing ways to integrate those things as one full human online, so to speak. And like doing that in various ways. And like the way Collabland's doing this is with the GM pass, but I'm just kind of seeing that parallel in both directions with the splitting, and like automating with AI, and then the integrating in the opposite direction with approvability and blockchain and that sort of stuff. It's really interesting.
So I think you've just coined the first multi-decentralized identity disorder. I think this is the first that we're hearing of this. But yeah, I can imagine that being an issue where, and I'll get to, right after this. But
Yeah, I'm
what
done. Sorry. Thanks. Thanks, Amin, for your patience.
Yeah, no, but this is great because, we'll start out with uh, an agent writing a blog post on your behalf, and then you'll have other agents reading that blog post and being able to respond to it because that's the context of what and how we communicate now. But really, what this will shortcut into is my AI agent talking to yours directly instead of having this intermediary. And that, I think, then bleeds into how do we reduce coordination when we do this, where we have this like mind, if you will, Star Trek, when it comes to every person being able to express themselves or their persona or part of their identity through this AI agent for a given DAO. And what does it mean when everyone has their own AI agent? These are the things that we want to unleash. And part of the reason why we have the Collab Land marketplace, because we don't want to be the bottleneck for this innovation. We want to collectively allow anyone to be able to submit a mini app. And with this developer portal that we're launching this week, whole nother topic of conversation, we'll be able to do that. So super excited about what we're setting up from a foundation. I'll stop there. Ask his question. Thank you for your patience.
No, absolutely. Thank you, James, and thanks, Nerd, for like your topic of discussion. I think that really highlights a lot of the scope of what you guys are trying to achieve, and finding that inclusivity between the innovation of AI and finding an offensive a balance that leads on towards joining other things in mind. But yeah, that I thought it was really interesting. The question I had in mind, I was very intrigued about understanding like the relationship with the Collab Land AI, the API that's coming out. Like, what type? I'm interested. What type of insights would you be interested for developers to find when it comes to AI research for API to API interactions? Just something that just popped in my mind.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I can spend hours. Just to give a little bit of context here is that Abridge, the makers of Collab Land, before we had Collab Land, Abridge was developer tooling. Collab Land was a reference implementation of our no-code tools. And what I see AI doing is it actually is the ultimate, no-code tool where you get to express yourself and you don't have to know how to stitch different APIs together. What you can do is tell the APIs, kind of like there is a product called If Then That, IFTTT, I think is the acronym. Or you look at Zapier and with its API connector. And what I can imagine is you will have an AI agent that will be able to look at third-party developers stitching together different APIs, and those different kind of building blocks of stitching up an API. So in the future, you can imagine the output of one API being the input of another. And these third-party developers are being able to create value by human curation, and that's expressed by their mini app. And then you as a user will have your own AI agent that will look at all the mini apps, basically these API to API connections that have been vetted by third-party developers and curated by the Collab Land DAO to be in the marketplace. Your AI agent, and this is part of our long-term planning when it comes to the GM path, will be able to stitch these third-party apps together. to be able to do what you want to do in ways that you as a user probably couldn't express. And so there are a couple of things that we're trying to do with this API is being able to unlock token gating from just Telegram and Discord. So it's just out into the open internet. And then we want to get third-party developers building and connecting with each other, different sites together, so that they can have mini apps that are outside of just that platform. And then from there, we have the GM Pass and the decentralized identity. And with that, we're going to embark on this road of AI agency so that a user can actually give some of their authority to their wallet and then be able to connect to these mini apps so that the AI agent is, instead of being able to come up with everything from scratch on its own at first, will be able to just connect the dots with these mini apps and be able to do the bidding of the user. And that's kind of how we are looking at being able to safely have AI introduced into Web. There are different curation touch points along the way. And when you look at AI research and AI alignment, there always needs to be this human feedback. And so we have it in several places. We're not just going to allow the AI to run. What we do is we have third-party developers, the human in the middle that are connecting the APIs together. Because when you as a third-party developer are creating APIs, you're just stitching the Collab Land API to whatever API you're using. That's really the Collab app, kind of in a nut. And this is why we're so bullish on this API to API connection, because Raymond, our CTO, has been focused on API, connecting APIs for the last decade through Loopback, which now is fully open source and governed by the OpenJS Foundation. So we believe we have great foundational, not only tech, but experience. And we want to be mindful because, again, part of like all goes back to our core values at Collab Land is trust and safety. And so when it comes to AI, it would be foolish of us to just fully blindly embrace the AI is going to be able to do what we want. We need to make sure that we're safe here. And this is where we're always looking at kind of both sides of the coin, right? Not only embracing the opportunity, the utopian aspect of AI, but also being able to make sure that we're protecting against the downside, the dystopian effect of it. And, I think when you look at where we're at as a whole on the internet in general, I think you can give a pass, at least be gracious to big tech companies that have gotten us to where we're at, because there is maybe this credible deniability that they did not know what they were doing. However, in Web3 and where we're at, especially with AI, we don't have that excuse. We need and must be responsible. And so this is why we at Collab Land are always trying to straddle the line between empowerment, but also making sure that people are safe as we shine light in this dark forest, as they say, to help make sure that we keep people safe. And so all the things that we do at Collab have this kind of countervailing duality, this force of, light and dark, good and bad, kind of at play that we have to always balance. And we express that through technology and through these meetups, town halls, everything that we promote, because we want to do this as transparently, and we want to make sure that we keep everyone in the loop as we build it.
Man, that was very thoughtful. I appreciate the wholesome thought that you guys have got through, and you understanding, both the philosophy behind how you guys approach it, and the actual implementation of the tech and the tool stack that you guys are putting into play. And I value that tremendously, as well as any person that is looking to work on the API. So I congratulate you guys on the progress that you guys been able to pull off, and really stoked to see what you guys are able to what this API can help get close to that manifestation of the scope of that conversation. So much appreciated with that, James. I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, no, really excited for you to be along this journey with us. And we want as many like-minded people as possible, because we can't do this alone. This is kind of in our namesake. It takes collaboration. And really, this exercise is a reduction in coordination costs, because I think a lot of us have this desire to uh, make the world better. And really, it's this kind of inability to coordinate, or there is different trust assumptions that come into play. And so I think we have the framework, the bare tools, and this is what excites me about crypto or Web3, is that it allows us to get to the heart of trust and incentives. And then alongside that, we have AI that gives us this amplification, these superpowers that we are trying to figure out how to yield. And we know that with anything, this is just the human condition. It could be used for good, or it could be used for nefarious purposes. So it's really trying to make sure that we thread the needle here as we move forward, and that we're careful, thoughtful, but we want to move forward and try and get this going. And this is why it's not going to happen through just a core team. It's going to happen through everyone that's part of the community. So really excited to be here, and everyone else that is looking to, be part of the Collab Land mission, vision. And I'm super grateful and just appreciative that we have this opportunity to discover and explore this next unlock. Right. Well, I think that was a lot to talk about, and it was a great Q&A, and allows me to actually put into context. So these questions are really helpful because it's a conversation, it's a dialogue. So I appreciate the questions, and allows me to kind of go quote unquote off script a little bit and just give you the high level thoughts that we have, and hopefully the dialogue back and forth keeps it on topic. Else I know that I can stray a little bit here and there, and talk either too high level or talk too specific in terms of implementation details. So I want to make sure I can strike the right balance. This question and Q&A is very helpful to make sure that I stay relevant to them. But with that, I think that's it for this week. Super grateful, and thank you for the questions and for everyone listening here. And I think that this is being recorded as well, so we can decide to post this.
Yeah, absolutely. Mhm. This recording will be posted on YouTube. So we'll be sharing that in the recordings post in here as soon as it's ready, just in case anyone would like to go back to it. Or if anyone missed the session, we'll also share that in the channels of the server.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Chibi, for hosting. This has been a great session. Thank you, Nerd, for the questions, and thank you all for listening today, and happy to answer any questions that do come up. I'll be monitoring the Collab Land Discord server and make sure that everyone, you be on the lookout, because all these features that are appropriate from like a member facing perspective, we will make sure that we drop alpha first within the Collab Land Discord server. The API as a product, this dev portal, is a little different, but we want to announce it here first before we announce it wide. So those of you that are developers, please check out the dev portal as it gets launched, and we'll have more info here within the Collab Land Discord server. And Kenny is leading the charge when it comes to developer relations. Feel free to reach out to him if you have any specific questions. We're going to provide and drop to everyone here in the Collab Land Discord server first what we're thinking and how we have all of these different products, how they are loosely coupled and how they affect each other. And we'll do a better job at describing this as we unfold, because we're seeing that the market is moving really, really fast. I mean, if you're on crypto Twitter, you may be focused on the bear market and where things are at from a price perspective. But I want to encourage everyone that has been through different cycles, and they know that during the bear market that things get built, and this is where we get out into the next cycle. And Collab Land, I would dare say, is positioned to help and lead kind of as we get into this next cycle. And we definitely want to make that type of impact. So we're happy to take on that mantle, carry that. But I'll give a couple minutes back to everyone. Thank you for listening this week, and hope to see everyone back in 2 weeks.
Thank you, James, so much for this amazing session, and everyone in the audience for attending. We'll see you guys next time.